of course, you know, I got to give a shout out to my boy, Christos Avatar. I be watching him all the time, and you know, he does those Emerald Order teachings. So he threw a website up, you know, and I've been meaning to go, but I never made it over there. So finally, I made it over there. And you know how the spirit will just lead you to something, you know, that it wants you to see. Well, it's an Ascension glossary. And it had, you know, a list, A through Z. 2,000 something pages. Thinking about making a series out of it. But anyway, so the first thing that I read out of all of it is on soul fragmentation. It answered a lot of questions I had, you know, about, you know, most of my life being a drug addict and running from my gifts and all that, you know, trying to make it go away. Well, it never goes away. Demons are real, they don't go away. So I live with the whole crew of, like, some of them are hierarchy, some of them are hybrids, some of them may be human, some of them are dead, some of them are immortal. But, you know, I do a whole EVP series. Well, anyway, so I have brain tumors, so reading out loud helps me to process what I'm reading. And of course, I always record it that way. I can go back and listen to it. You know, if you're going to read a book or something, you might as well record it so you can listen to it again. Well, the crew don't like it. They didn't like it at all. I guess they thought that, you know, I was blaming them for all my soul fragmentation. And, you know, because we've been through some shit. God opened the door and put them in my living room 6 years ago. So, and you know, we went through some dark days together, and by all rights I should hate them, but the Lord changed me, and I can't hate them, and I've forgiven them, and I actually care about them. But anyway, this is I was reading about it, so the EVPs are on here. I decided to go ahead and put this one up because it's just on soul fragmentation. Alright, so I hope you enjoy. Namaste. Soul fragmentation. The more soul fragmented and damaged a person's energetic body is, operating or not operating, all the more distorted and incoherent the thoughts and behaviors become. These deviations are manifested into addictions, perversions, and a wide array of damaging personality disorders or alternate identities that can be well observed in the individual as destructive to the self and destructive to others. When one is continually destructive, storming bad, destructive towards the self or others, eventually the soul matrix layers fragment and split apart. Sometimes they are attached into other timelines and negative entities. Okay. When a human being is soul split, they will exhibit mental confusion and tendencies that include narcissism, schizophrenia, dissociative personality, sociopathy, along with a lack of empathy for others. Well, I don't have no lack of empathy. And an array of psychological distortions that could potentially lead to insanity. I got that, all that though. See the negative ego for studying stages of pathology. Insanity is a description of consciousness fragmentation that generates the existence of the hell realms and is how to easily recognize bodily possession through satanic or anti-life behaviors that are controlled by the possessing entities
such as one of the collective negative thought forms of a fallen angelic. Insanity is a diseased mind as the consequence of a traumatized or disconnected soul, which leads the being to choose to continually inflict destruction and harm to the self and sometimes others. If continual destructive, spiritually abusive behavior is not stopped or healed, it will damage the soul further through mental fragmentation and genetic degradation. Insanity is a way to define negative behaviors, which create soul destruction, those self-inflicted actions which ultimately disconnect the body and mind from the soul matrix. Yep. Okay. The archontic deception behavior. Negative entities are groomed with anti-life behaviors targeting humanity through technological mind control, being transmitted in lowest frequencies possible and controlled by the NAA. When an entity, human or non-human, is soul disconnected, they tend towards experiences with an unquenchable thirst of desire, addiction, black depression, pain, and suffering at great levels, combined with alternating into dissociative states. This is the description of the internal pain and suffering of a satanic entity or soul fragmented human being, many which seek addictive states in order to gain relief from their personal inner torment. Yep, that's me. Yeah, no shit. That's why I use drugs. To escape. Tried to escape myself. Didn't work out though. Severe soul damage, mind control, enslavement through mental fragmentation with genetic biological destruction of an entire species is not a God-ordained energetic rebalancing of karmic power abuses and their cumulative cause and effect from other lifetimes. However, in order to permanently heal these destructive and deviant behaviors, which include the mainstreaming of Satanism, which is rampant in global society at the individual levels of the microcosmic blueprint. These blueprint distortions of the consciousness grid damage must be corrected at the planetary macrocosmic blueprint levels in order to assist in the spiritual healing of the individual and the collective solar matrix of humanity. So fragmentation causes negative entity attachments. When a living thing is being tormented by another for the purpose of causing extreme pain or suffering, the mind and soul can fracture into pieces, and those fragmented pieces remain trapped in phantom pockets that are controlled by that negative entity. This can happen at multiple dimensions of existence and stations of identity that are connected with the consciousness of that spiritual energetic being. The more fragmented the being, the more disconnected and less evolved the consciousness becomes through entropy. Well, but I'm the one that's going to break this damn bloodline of suffering. Through entropy, the consciousness sinks into the most primitive layers of existence, survival fears. Nah. Okay. But I mean, this is what I'm going back to school for, to help people get past that fear. Fragmentation may continue after the consciousness has transitioned from the physical body. This is the primary goal of the NAA that attempt to enslave human consciousness, setting consciousness traps in order to elicit pain, confusion, or terror when exiting the physical body. In SRA, rape, torture, or killing of an animal or human is for the purpose of collecting the energy or the loosh produced by the blood sacrifices event. Yeah, I knew that. And to bind the human energy field with attachments which can be fed upon by the black hole entities. They form attachments from the negative energy they have consumed, binding with the soul and spirit fragments that make up the consciousness of that person. And Moloch is a soul binder, so they think that okay, so I see where the soul binding would come in with Moloch, and Moloch being the containers and the batteries for the loosh. They form attachment. Well, for one, I didn't know that y'all were gonna be on here listening to my reading just for myself. This didn't have nothing to do with y'all. I was searching out fragmentation because I was looking at my own addictions and why I can't seem to break them, and why it seems like the harder I try, the more I fail. This wasn't about y'all. I'm not blaming anyone. This is all about me. I was fragmented 6 years ago when I started talking to y'all. I've always been fragmented. I've never been able to think straight. I mean, hell, I got brain tumors. So this wasn't about y'all. This was not towards y'all. And like unless y'all are claiming to be archons. I mean, that was an archon thing that I read about soul fragmentation. You know, I've been on this gnosis thing for a while. Archons, I had questions, but nobody wanted to answer them. Wasn't Ascension, wasn't a Christian book. It was a book about Ascension and Archons and Aeons and cosmic races like Jehovian Anunnaki and Yahweh Anunnaki and Odedicron, Omnicron, Necromite, and things like that. It was about races. It was about cosmic races. And I looked at Archons, and under Archons was fragmentation. I read more than just Christian books. I'm going back to school for psychology. I'm going to be reading a lot of psychology.